Welcome back to the We Hear You, but We Don't Listen to You podcast. I'm your host, Gentry Brown, and we have a very special episode for you today. Let's start with some quick introductions. We have special guests, Alex Slaymaker and Hayden Sinclair.
Hey!
Hello.
Some of you might recognize these guys as previous podcasters for lies, disinformation within digital media. So let's start with some quick introductions. Alex, today's subject is about birds aren't real, which I know is a subject that hits really close to you.
Yes.
Do you want to give us a general idea on your thoughts behind this?
Well, birds aren't real. They never have been. Well, first I'll give a quick little introduction. My name is Alex Slaymaker. I'm from Illinois, and I've never had a feeling that birds are real. Something's not right about these things. Too often we're just like, look, there's a bird, look how pretty they are, they have these pretty colors. But I never fell for that. I had always believed that there's been something else going on in the world. Something that the government's trying to hide from us. And that's that birds aren't real. So I take this matter very seriously.
Well said. Very, very strong beliefs behind this. Hayden, what about you?
My name is Hayden Sinclair, just a regular guy, I started my podcast and I had Alex on because, I thought his story was very interesting and his beliefs, and I wanted to know more. So I had him on my podcast, and after 2 different episodes, there's some things that he's brought up that make a lot of sense. There's a lot of things about birds that don't check out. Now, I'm not going to say if they are or aren't real, but I will say that Alex brings up some great points.
All my points are great.
I've listened to their podcast and they are pretty great. So let's start with some quick refreshers. So our main idea is that birds are government spies. And we have some evidence behind this. Recently, there have been a lot of pictures and examples of birds sitting on the roofs around campus watching over us. Alex, do you have any thoughts behind that?
Yeah, so as some people may know, Pella is known for its tulip time, and it's a large congregation of people coming to campus. Well, what better time is to say, the birds are coming back. It's finally warm. It's not winter anymore. So all the geese come back. They then hatch these goslings that roam around campus for extra eyes. But not talking about that, they're sitting on the roofs now to get a better lookout and get a better preparation for all the people that are going to be showing up in these next few weeks. So as you'll notice, there'll be more and more birds slowly coming into Pella to watch this large change in population for the next weekend. And so really what's happening is usually they can wander around the pond. A lot of people end up at the dining hall, so that's why they sit around the pond usually. Even they have the nest by the tree right next to the dining hall.
They do.
I mean, that was very strategic.
They even have to block that off.
Yeah, exactly. And the people at college kind of fell for it, but they want to keep the government funding. So they had to make sure they put a protection up for their drones. But even sitting on roofs, they just need an extra high vantage point to be able to really look down and see what people are doing. And so really just preparation phase.
Yeah, and I've noticed with the goslings, like, you see students walk by, they're always looking at them. Oh, they're so cute. Oh, stop and look at them. That's just extra time for them to look back at you. That time you're spending looking at them, talking about how cute they are, no.
So Alex, you mentioned just an interesting point real quick about government funding. Colleges are largely backed by government funds. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah.
So do you think that all these birds being on campus have an influence on that?
I think that they have a partnership between the government and the schools. I mean, schools need to do what they can to get funding. I mean, it's a rough time for schools, especially right now. And so by working together with the government, because if they don't comply and we won't allow your birds, we're not going to allow this, then the schools, they lose a prime opportunity of where they can put their birds, and the government will just cut their funding. So they really just have to comply.
Hayden, do you have anything to add to this?
I think Alex just nailed it on.
I would agree. I don't think it could have been summed up any better. So let's get into some of these talking points. So, Alex, as you said, most birds are out when there's the most people active. But this isn't just on campus. This is all over the world, right? I know previously you have brought up ideas of birds moving south for the winter, which is where a lot of people go. Would you care to expand on this anymore? than you previously have?
So pretty much everyone, spring break time is a good time. It's getting cold, especially when you're in the more northern states. And Iowa's not too far north, so that's why we've had a few stick behind. But
There was a example of just a single geese just hanging out at the pond over
Yep.
winter.
always there. Someone had to stay back and be the lookout. So
Exactly.
stay behind. But all the other ones, they headed south just to be able to keep those tabs. I mean, even us, we find ourselves moving south just to find that warmth. Same as what the birds claim to be doing. But it's just a strategic overlap is all it is.
It was recently spring break, and I know y'all went to Florida just like how I did while we were doing separate things. I know with the tennis team, we saw quite a few birds while we were playing tennis. I'm assuming y'all saw birds while y'all were traveling through Florida and the different
yeah.
areas.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, owls are something that, you don't see very often. They're pretty rare. They're nocturnal. They don't come out. They have that extra special technology to rotate their heads all the way around. They fly silently.
And the government needs birds at night because
Right.
there are still people active.
Right.
out there.
And when we were in Florida, we saw 2 different owls on 2 different occasions, and that's just suspicious to me.
Yeah.
It's, I'm starting to travel with Alex more, and the more I'm with them, the more I see birds around.
Well, let me tell you, they're after me for sure. So actually, as a good example, as of recent, on Friday, I happened to be playing tennis, which they usually struggle with, but it was getting late. And so it was getting dark, struggling to see, the lights were turning on. And I hear this splat next to me on the court. And I look over and there's some bird poop. They tried to hit me while I was playing. It was getting dark, they were struggling to see me.
They needed
And
to
they
track
tried
you.
to track me, but I moved so fast they couldn't hit me with it. And so I was a narrow escape on that one, but it just shows that they're constantly making efforts trying to track you.
So you've recently brought up ideas of bird poop being used to track.
Oh yeah.
You think that's how they track cars?
Oh, for sure. I mean, bird poop, they just need to land it. As long as it gets somewhat near their target, on their target, they constantly have this tracking device, and your data is always getting stored in that way. And so, I mean, the reason why they go after me, like I rarely ever run into instances with bird poop. Normally, I find myself inside when it starts to get late. But in this circumstance, I was outside. It was getting dark. What could they do? They tried to do the one thing that they could to keep a tab on me. And I mean, you just got to be ready for it. But constantly staying active, being on your feet, being aware. I mean, maybe if it missed, I wouldn't have even realized that it quite landed on me. So.
For sure.
Yep.
Let's see. Recently was the holiday Easter.
Oh yeah.
Traditionally a very large holiday here within the United States. And there's something that once I heard you talk about birds not being real, I came to the realization that Easter, which is to celebrate Christ and our Christianity, and yet we want to make different animals represent Easter more than others. And historically, the Easter Bunny has been the big character for Easter. But recently, more and more people have been bringing up peeps and chicks, and I'm just curious, do you have any thoughts on that? Because I know you are not a fan of Thanksgiving because of that turkey.
Oh, don't get me started. The word Thanksgiving is starting to be a little not liking it. I try to stay away from it.
I might have to bleep that out then.
Yep, it's okay. It's just, it really rubs me the wrong way. But yeah, you start to see that the government's really trying to incorporate birds as much as they can into these events. And it's like, Easter was great. And it was very focused on the bunny and just
Even now, that bunny
even
has
nuts.
eggs.
Exactly.
At no point should a bunny ever be able to lay eggs, let alone colored eggs.
Oh yeah. And then they're like, oh, the eggs. Let's bring eggs in this. People will decorate eggs. People will hunt for eggs. But they're just trying to get you more and more to think about the birds. And it's like, oh, how can we just incorporate this into their life? Instead of thinking this bunny, we're going to think, oh, here's the birds.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not right. It's not sitting right with me. And it wasn't one I realized quite when I was younger because I cared so much about the bunny, but I feel like the bunny's getting pushed out of it, and that's not fair to the bunny.
I agree. Just right around Easter time, I was walking through the local Walmart here in Pella, Iowa, and I hardly saw any bunnies. I just saw peeps and chicks.
Oh,
Both candy, stuffed animals. I mean, even just on packaging, it's always chicks now, never really bunnies.
Yeah, and even as you start to notice walking through some of those stores, you may find yourself walking through those farm stores, and a lot of times they're advertising how they have live chicks for sale.
Yes.
You can get those.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point? Where are the live rabbits?
Right. Where?
Why are we not bringing the true Easter mascot
Into the spotlight.
Into the spotlight.
For
Why
what
are we
used to be his holiday.
exactly? And now we're just advertising the bunnies,
Mhm.
not bunnies, the birds.
Advertising the birds.
Yeah, need to start advertising the bunnies.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I feel like the government's trying to incorporate birds into as much of our lives as they can. Like,
Mhm.
you know, the second Home Alone movie when they're in New York,
Yes.
there's the crazy bird lady.
Yes, there is.
And the turtle doves. It's a Christmas
Very
movie.
good point.
And one of the main points is birds. Halloween, I feel like they're always talking about like crows
Mhm.
and stuff. I mean, it's just,
I mean, even Edgar Allan Poe
Yeah.
from the early days
Thank you.
had the raven.
thank you.
So
Don't like it.
I know. So I've got a statistic here that kind of breaks down human-related threats to birds, and one of them is wind turbines, which causes about 330,000 birds or deaths a year. And recently we talked about wind turbines in our civ class and how it was a very controversial subject because some people think it's clean energy, whereas a lot of people still think that it's not so clean energy. I happen to think that the people who are saying that it's not so clean energy are on the side that birds are real. And so I wondered if you had any thoughts behind this, or if we should be investing in more wind turbines, or do you think the government won't because they don't want it to affect their birds?
I think we should start implementing more wind turbines. And I think part of it is that the reason so many bird deaths do happen, or drones, I guess is what you
Mhm.
should say, but the reason that there are so many of these deaths is because they're so used to thinking energy comes from the power lines. That's what they're going to charge. We're going to sit on the power line and we're going to charge.
Right.
And so with their program paths, they feel the nearby energy and they think, oh, it's going to charge me. I'm going to be able to fully recharge. I'm going to be able to go back out again. But they don't realize that they're not fully programmed correctly to be able to identify the difference between a power line and a wind turbine. So, I mean, I don't know if the government's going to keep doing it, and they might start deeming it as something different, but I think they're great.
Yeah, I agree. As being from Kansas, where it's a very windy state, there are a good amount of wind turbines, but I believe that we could have more, and I think the government doesn't want that because
Yeah.
they don't want it affecting their birds and or birds.
Thank you.
Yes.
But yeah, so I really think it's a great thing to keep implementing, and it also just creates more of a safe zone.
Mhm.
I think that even more farmers that own a lot of land should even think to just start at saying, I would like to install wind turbines and
Yeah.
have more being built. And then it also kind of starts to protect them.
Right.
It gives them a bit of safety. There's less
And the
spies
birds,
out there
yes.
if they're in a wind turbine zone.
That is a
So,
great point.
Yeah.
Hayden, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, and I mean, along with wind turbines, I think there's other things that, you know, people could be doing to try and help this problem. I see on your statistic here that cats kill 1.1 billion. Yeah,
that's-
1.8 billion.
I think that's million, but that's okay.
No, that's 1.8 billion birds.
It's not, but okay.
It'd be million. It's 1 billion.
You're right, 1.8 billion.
Sorry, a little miscommunication.
It's a hard graph
On
to
this
read.
graph, yeah, it's a pie chart. Who would ever create one of those?
3D pie charts are pretty bad.
Not as bad as birds, though.
Exactly.
1.8 billion bird deaths because of cats.
I know you're a big cat fan.
I'm a
Hayden.
big fan of cats, and I think, you know, just, you know, if you're allergic, that sucks. Maybe dogs can help a little bit too, but,
They really need to step up their game. Cats are really leading the way, but dogs just
right.
I feel like they
So-
kind of push more for dogs. They
Yeah.
talk about how dogs are like a person's like best friend, but
Exactly.
they really are like, oh, but cats, they're mean, they do all this. Are they mean because
That's a
they're
really
killing the
good point.
spies?
I never thought of that.
Dogs
Yeah.
kill the bunnies.
Dogs kill the bunnies. I mean, they're single-handedly trying to bring Easter into a new meaning. They're trying to stop it from being about the bunnies, and they want it to be about the birds.
It all makes sense.
Things are adding up.
So cats would be good. Another thing is here, collisions with buildings and glass.
We had the murals right outside Vermeer and and Rote. We have murals on the glass because those glasses were killing birds. And that was something that was funded by the school, which, as Alex previously stated, school gets our funding from the government, and so if the government wants to eliminate the bird deaths here on campus, and so that's why we were able to get the funding for the murals.
Yeah,
Yep.
Windex. Invest in Windex. I mean, it's such a simple way to help this problem.
It makes your house look good, and it helps protect you from the government.
Just remember that the importance of this is just to keep everyone safe.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't realize that birds are out there to just track you. I mean, no matter how friendly they look, I mean, they want people to go out there and be bird watchers. You're not watching birds. They're watching you. I mean, if it flies, it spies. I mean, you just gotta be ready. So,
Alex, you mentioned that people have been sort of brainwashed to think birds are beautiful, like I want to see them. That brings up the idea of zoos.
mhm.
So I know in Wichita we have the Sedgwick County Zoo, which has a rainforest exhibit that you can walk through that has birds
Oh,
flying
yeah.
all over, and you can get very close to some of those birds.
Oh yeah. Are you getting close to the birds, or are they getting close to you?
They're getting close to us
Exactly.
because I'm scared of birds.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't like the government drones, but I always avoid that exhibit.
Mhm.
But I constantly see families walking in and taking their sweet time
Yeah.
walking through them, looking at all the pretty birds, which in reality, they're just government spies listening on those people.
Yep. In the end of the day, it's where can you get your money? I
Right.
mean, zoos do the same thing as schools. They need money
Mhm.
somehow. If you're able to make this little exhibit with inside and say, "Come see the birds," and the birds will come see you.
Mhm.
I mean, really, everyone that's walking through there is just getting tracked. It's free tracking. It makes it easy. I mean, they're able to land on you, collect your DNA in a very unobvious way, and I mean, you just fell for it. They'll help fund the zoos and keep them going strong as long as people keep coming and going through that exhibit. Everything else is just there as a decoy.
Well, to wrap things up, our whole goal behind this podcast is to help you be as safe as possible. So once again, thank you for listening to the We Hear You But We Don't Listen To podcast. I'm your host, Gentry Brown, and this is Alex Slaymaker and Hayden Sinclair.